Welcome back to the Chasing Happiness podcast, an honest podcast about finding happiness, what it really means, and the process of getting there. My name is Crystal, and for the first time on our podcast community, I am actually sitting down and talking to Crystal. And no, I don't mean I'm interviewing myself. I am interviewing a wonderful lady who I actually got introduced through a mutual friend, Delane, who has been on this podcast. And Crystal, you do something that is super fascinating to me because you're a copywriter. And as a woman who does not do words really well, this fascinates me. So if you want to give everyone sort of a brief introduction of who you are and what you do, then I have a ton of questions about how you got here.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me to start off. It's nice to meet another Crystal, despite the fact that there are a lot of us. I don't meet that many. So this is cool. It's cool. I like it. So I am a copywriter. My monochrome is Word Magic. So I own Word Magic Copywriting, and I work for incredible humans that are just trying to get their message out there. So I joke that I work for misfits, rebels, and world changers. I write a lot for coaches, tech startup companies, unique product innovators, things like that. But that's not where I started. I actually started as a 2-decade-long luxury event planner. So I was the girl behind the scenes running some of the big major stages, summits, conferences, workshops, retreats that you've ever attended. And I left it all for the thing that I really wanted to do, which was be a copywriter.
Which is super interesting for a number of reasons. One, on this podcast, we love to talk about sort of chasing your dream and the thing that makes you happy. But two, how people go about doing that. And you had what sounds like a pretty lucrative career. And it can be one, terrifying, two, a little, nerve-wracking, let's say, to even think about leaving something like that, especially when you have so much behind you, depending on who you are. So at what point did you realize you needed to walk away from that other career, or that you wanted to?
Probably a decade before I actually did it.
Wow.
It took me a decade. So I loved what I did. It wasn't what I actually initially went to school for. It's not what I planned to do. It's something that I literally fell into and found out that I was damn good at it really quickly. I made a name for myself in university while doing it. Even in high school, I had a reputation for hosting really fantastic events. And I went to school for media, and I thought, I'm probably going to work in television or radio or something like that. Sure. And then every time I would think about going into that field, I would work in the television field doing events. I would work in the radio field doing events. And I was like, okay, universe, you keep pushing me back to this. But the interesting thing about doing the events was that I was also doing all the copy to market the events behind the scenes. So every time somebody had a summit, a workshop, a retreat, a conference, even just a family get together, I was the girl behind the scenes writing all the copy to encourage people to actually attend, to write the landing pages and the sales copy and the websites and all of it. And that was where I was really finding my passion. And I knew that. So when I was 15 or 16 years old, I wrote my first book as a ghostwriter. Wow. And realized that there was money in writing. And I was like, oh, that's really fascinating. And I kind of backburnered it as like, I'll just do it on the side, whatever. Sure. I was always super passionate about writing, but I guess I sort of grew up with this thought that like journalists are poor and like, you can't be a writer. Writers don't make money. Like they're the butt of jokes. They're the alcoholics sitting at the table in the bar, writing their next big novel, but they don't actually make money. And it took me a really long time to get past that. And you're right. I had a lucrative career. I was doing incredible events. I was globetrotting. I was living a lifestyle that a lot of people don't get to live. I was regularly offered first-class tickets to places and people and things that normal people don't have access to. So it was a really good life at that point. And then I got cancer. And when I got cancer, everything changed. And my oncologist sat me down and said, I love you. I think that you're an amazing human. And if you don't change your career, you're going to die. Wow. Because the stress that your career creates on your body and your life is what's actually causing your cancer. I had a pretty progressive oncologist. I don't know too many oncologists that would say shit like this.
Wow.
But mine was super progressive and super real with me. And he's like, you're going to die if you don't stop doing what you're doing. Like, you need to reduce your stress level. You need to eat better. You need to like find more time to relax, self-care, all of that good stuff. So the interesting thing was that was only a decade into my career. And I knew at that point, like every fiber of my being was like, I have to get out of events. But the money held me for years. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm sick. I need money to pay for my medication. I need money to pay for these alternative treatments. I need money. And the place where I was making the money and it was assured money was events. And so I stuck it out for a really long haul. And then, and there was a marriage, a divorce, a filing of bankruptcy. Like there was a bunch of crap in the middle, but the end thing that officially made the switch possible for me was this. I was working for an incredible company producing events, and I loved working for them. I loved the people that I was in communication with every day. They were incredible, incredible humans. And then COVID hit. And just before COVID, to be clear, I met and married my husband in a month.
Wow.
It's a whole other story. It was not arranged. We actually just completely fell head over heels for one another and got married. We wanted to be married more than we wanted to have a wedding. We eloped. We didn't tell a soul. And we married in September of 2019. So just coming up on 2 years next week, actually.
Wow.
And best decision I ever made. And being married to Rob, who's my husband, was the starting catalyst of me going, anything I want, I can have. Anything I want, I can have. Like it's such a weird, simple fact, but I grew up in a place where people had talked about marriage being difficult and you always had to work at it. Right. And then I married a man that it was not difficult. It's the easiest thing in the world to be married to my husband. He's my best friend in the whole wide world. He's an incredible human. Do we disagree? Absolutely. Are we different humans? For sure. It's still easy. It's way easy to be married to my husband. And I was like, it just like flipped a switch in my head that said, things can be easy. You don't have to make your life so fucking hard. It can be easy if you choose it. You can choose easy. Right. And in that moment, I was like, I'm done. I knew I was done. But it was 2019. A week after we got married, I had to produce a massive event for like 10,000 people. I did. It was a beautiful event. It was amazing. I loved it. Super powerful. Great. We immediately start planning for the next year's event. And I know that there's something inside of me that's raging, just going like, this is hard. Why are you still choosing hard?
Right.
Why are you choosing hard? So I'm continuing to run events. I end up in New Zealand. COVID hits. I'm working for the government. I literally get a call from the government saying, the world's about to shut down. Girl, we love you. You just got married. Go home to your husband.
Wow.
Yeah, it was intense. And I remember calling my husband and said, I'm coming home and I feel like I'm going to be home for a while. And he was like, okay, like, I want you home. Like, let's do this. We'd only been married at this point for like 5 months. So he was like, I want you home. Come on back. When I got home, I told him about the world closing and what I knew. And he was like, I'm glad you came home. And I was one of the few event planners that was lucky enough to have a job through most of COVID. So I maintained my full-time position with the company I was at, planning their events, doing stuff like, immediately switching us to a virtual program, changing up all the event plans that we had for live events, rescheduling things, adjusting things, moving things around. And I still had a job. And something snapped for me when we hit September of 2020. And it was our wedding anniversary and the day that the next live event should have been happening. And I remember looking at my husband and I was like, I'm done. And he goes, what do you mean you're done? And I said, I'm just done. I don't belong here anymore. I don't have that nerves, that excitement, that passion to do this anymore. Right. And it's been fucking hard. It's been hard for a year to constantly have to reevaluate and change things and disappoint people and have people upset with you because, money and time and space. And I was just like, I'm just done. I'm done choosing hard. And that's all I said to my husband was, I'm done choosing hard. So flash forward a month and I have a call with my boss and him and I are having a good conversation. And I'm like, I don't think you guys need me anymore. I don't want to leave you in the lurch.
Sure.
Like, you don't need me anymore. And I feel like my time is wasted and you're wasting money by having me here. And thankfully, I'm blessed with a boss who was incredible. Like a company I was working for, they were incredible. And they knew when I said, like, you don't need me, like we had a reputation and a trust built, that they knew when I said that they genuinely could get away without me, that they didn't need me in that moment.
Right.
And so we mutually parted ways, which was awesome. They were so gracious and so kind, and I adore them still. But we left, and I, talked to my husband that day, and I was like, I quit my job. And my husband's like, what do you mean? Are you insane? What is going on? This is not okay. And like, he's having a little meltdown,
Sure.
and he's trying to remember that his wife is a smart human and can figure this shit out.
Right.
And, keep in mind, we've only been married a year, right? Like,
yeah,
we've dated for a year and a month at this point. Like, my husband's just like, what is happening? And it took me 6 days to make up my entire income for the year in new clients. I'm a firm believer in spirituality. I have a very spiritual side. I believe in God, and I believe in spirit. And I remember just kind of putting it all on the table and saying, you keep telling me it doesn't have to be so fucking hard. You keep saying it doesn't have to be so hard. What does easy look like? I give it up. What does easy look like? And it was funny because I got really quiet one day and I went for a walk. I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it, but I got teary-eyed and I went for this walk and I kept saying, you keep telling me it's not supposed to be so hard. It's supposed to be easy. What's easy? How is this easy? How is quitting my job in the middle of a pandemic when nobody has fucking jobs? How is this easy? Like, we have a house, we have a farm, we have people that rely on us for income. How do I do this? And I heard in my head, whether you believe it to be spirit, God, my own intuition, I don't care what you call it. I heard in my head, send an email to 7 people. That's it. That's what I was told. 7 people. I was like, okay. And I didn't know who the 7 were. And I sat down with a list. I literally on a sheet of paper at this very dining table and said, 7 people. Let's write a list. Let's see what happens. And I wrote a list of 7 people that I'd either worked with before or knew I could help. And I sent out an email that was somewhere along the lines of like, hey, it's Crystal. You probably know me as the incredible event pro that you've known and loved for 2 decades. But I'm doing something different. And I want you to know that I've written incredible books in the background. I've been writing copy for all of the events you've been attending. I'm really fucking good at it. And I'm putting my hat out on the fact that you believe I'm good at this, and I believe I'm good at this, and this is my next calling. So if you want to work with me, I'm offering great rates to start. I would love a chance to work with you. Hit me up if this resonates. That was pretty much all the message said. 6 of the 7 people signed up the same day.
Wow.
It was done. I literally made my income that I used to make with the former company in less than 3 months. In less than 3 months, I had recouped my entire salary for a year with them. And now I'm making somewhere in the realm of about 6 to 8 times what I used to make with them.
That's huge.
Yeah. I went from being, feeling like $5,000 was a lot in a month or $6,000 was a lot. Like, I remember the days of looking at my paychecks and being like, I made $6,000 this month. Like, I remember those days. And now I look at my paychecks and go, I made $50,000 this month. I cleared $100,000 in the first 3 months of the year and was like, oh, I just tax bracketed myself. That's what my husband refers to it as. You just tax bracketed yourself, meaning you just jumped an insane tax bracket. And now our tax bracket is going to be super high.
Yeah.
I love you. I support you. Holy crap. Our taxation is going to be insane. But I tax bracketed myself and it was fucking easy. It was so easy because when I gave up feeling like everything had to be hard, it just showed up. And within, it was like 2 months later, we moved into our dream home. We got a farm. We have peaches and these feathered tyrant chickens of mine in the back. We have a dog. We have bumblebees. Like, we have honeybees that make their own honey. We moved into a neighborhood that we both had dreamed of living in. We have incredible neighbors who we adore. Like, we couldn't be in a better position, and it came with ease. I mean, this house was a joke. We literally set out saying, we want to find a house that's fully furnished in the middle of a pandemic that we don't have to do squat with. that it's basically just done. We can move in, like bring our clothes. We got a house.
Wow.
And that's what we found. And it came with ease. We were the first people to see the house. I mean, they literally put it up on the market. We saw it. We saw an ad for it the first day on some random site that we never look at. Right. We saw it on the first day that they posted it. We booked it on the second day and we moved in like a month later. Wow. And it was just simple. Nothing was complicated. Nothing with my husband has ever been complicated. Like I joke that I think he's the catalyst for a lot of this because nothing with him was ever complicated. We got married and he was like, do you want a ring? And I was like, not really. We got tattoos.
I love it.
Do you want to wear a dress? I mean, sure. Can you find one? Sure. I bought it off the rack. Like it wasn't complicated. And I remember life feeling hella complicated before. And when life got better, like when life stopped being complicated, like now I actually look forward to getting up in the mornings and I look forward to going out and playing with my chickens. Does it mean that life's not stressful? Oh, dear God, no. Come on. That's a joke.
Right.
Like it's just that things come with more ease. I can even look at the stress with more ease. I can feel content in, like, sure, there's 30 people out in my field picking peaches this week and all 30 of them get to get paid and managed and whatever, but that's okay. The money will show, the people will be here. And it all started when I finally owned my gift. And when I finally had the nerve to say, fuck it, I'm going to do this thing already. It's been 10 years. For the record, my company still exists. What happened was my assistant who, like my right hand, who like loved my business enough to say, I want to run it. Can you own it? And I'll just run it so that we don't have to change paperwork or anything. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. I'll pay the insurance paperwork. I'll make sure that the taxes get filed. You basically run it. Done. Absolutely. It got easy because I was so afraid that this baby that I built, I was going to have to destroy. That was the hard part for me. I was terrified I was going to have to destroy it. Turns out I didn't have to destroy anything. When I asked for the easy route showed up for me because Lisa turned around and said, I love your baby as much as you do. And I just want to run it. I don't want to own it. I just want to run it. Is that okay? Absolutely. And for the first few months, it was weird not answering the phone and not responding to clients and whatever. And then there was this beautiful break where I went, I don't have to answer the phone. I don't have to talk to those clients. I can literally sit and do the thing that I'm really good at, which is thinking and writing.
I love
it. And my life got
got
so much more simple. And it doesn't mean that every day is like, I don't end up with like a moment where I'm like, oh, I can't write that thing. Oh, this is frustrating. I mean, those still happen. Come on, I'm human.
Sure.
Those still happen, but like, I can work through it.
It's a totally different shift. And for everyone listening to this, I think it's important that you go back and listen again, because what Crystal's saying is, yes, there are still days when I struggle. Yes, there are still days where maybe it's not ideal, but I gave over to the universe and finally agreed to do this thing that clearly I was meant to do. And look how much life has changed. Look how less stressful, how much more joy there is. Like, you've moved to a peach farm. For people who don't live here in the Niagara region, like, that's the ideal. You want to live on a peach farm here in the Niagara region. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, peach season here is like Christmas. I just can't describe it if you don't live here, but like,
and we also were like right across from the lake. So we have our own private access to the lake. Like, I am literally living the dream that so many people want. I mean, friends visit from the city and are like, oh my God, you're living the dream. What is this? Like, how is this possible? And the honest to goodness answer was, I just gave it up to the universe, told the universe what I wanted and said, I'm open to the easy way to make this happen. Show me the easy way. I'll take it. And then, and this is the trick, you can't just ask for it. When the easy way shows up, you actually have to do it.
Right.
You have to actually do it because I mean, my work has slowed down. The pandemic had put us in a position where leaving was easy. It wasn't like I was leaving them in a lurch and leaving them with a huge event that needed to be covered. I was leaving them in a position of, hey, things have slowed down. You don't actually need me anymore.
Right.
I can walk away now and feel okay with it. And you can continue to do your work and feel okay with it. What a great ease-filled way to leave a job. It wasn't stressful.
Absolutely.
We weren't arguing. There was no fight about it. It was just like, this is in your best interest and mine. And that's okay. Let's do this thing.
Absolutely. And I will pause momentarily just to say, because you did bring up your health, and I know there'll be a few people who are listening who are wondering how you're doing since, it was a decade ago that your doctor said the stress is going to kill you. How are you doing?
I'm still alive. So, hey, we're good. Yeah, I had terminal cancer twice. I was told that it was terminal twice. Both times I, did the work. I did it the hard way for a while. And then I eventually chose ease. And ironically, both of the times where I chose ease is when I healed myself. For me, choosing ease looked like spending every penny I had and going on bucket list trips around the globe. And that was what ultimately, supported me in moving forward. But choosing the ease was what actually, got me well again. And now I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. Sure, I'm carrying a little extra around the middle because I enjoy my peaches a lot. And peach crumble is delicious for those of you who've never had it. But yeah, life is good. I'm healthy. I'm active. We go for walks all the time. I go to the gym. My cholesterol levels are down. My blood cell counts are great. Like there's nothing about me that's like, oh, she's not healthy. No, I'm incredibly healthy and happy.
And that, I think that right there, I think is the key. You, not you specifically, but you as a person strive your whole life for this idea of happiness, whatever that is in your own mind. And I think so many of us end up in a struggle where we are consistently living this stress-filled life of, I literally go to bed stressed out. I wake up stressed out. My whole day is stressed out. And the happiness just is never to be found. And basically everything that we've just walked through is the perfect example of if you give it up, if you give up that stress and do the thing that makes you happy, let the universe lead you to that path, all of it changes. The happiness falls into place. The stress goes away and everything else sort of just makes sense.
Yeah. My life got complicated when I got married. Like, let's be real. My husband at the time lived with his ex-girlfriend when we got married. Like for real, that happened. He brought 2 kids into the marriage. I had none. We moved to a farm. We got chickens. We suddenly had a farm to manage and run. Like things got complicated. And yet it was so simple because instead of fighting every single thing I'd been given, I just chose to say, what's the easy way? What's the easy way? So my husband has an ex-wife who doesn't necessarily like me or our relationship and, is dead set against him and anything he touches. Cool. What's the easiest way to deal with that? And the easiest way was to continue showing up with loving kindness and support no matter what, and be like, it's about those kids, not about you. And so we did that. And ease, I wouldn't say it's the dream stepmom relationship that I wanted necessarily, but it could be a lot worse. I know that's not a resounding, like, it's amazing. But it could be a lot worse than showing up consistently and saying like, hey, I really love what we're up to. And we can show up choosing ease and choosing grace and choosing kindness in these moments. And we can show that to our kids that it can be easy. It can be easy to make money. It can be easy to live in the place you want to live. It can be easy to find your dream partner. You don't have to always do it the hard way. And so many times in my life, I feel like I chose the hard way. And why? For what? For some like fucked up badge of honor that like I'm tenacious and I can get through anything. That's a fucked up badge of honor that no Girl Scout should ever want to wear.
Agreed. And I almost feel like as you're talking, I almost feel like we're taught that we have to wear it, right? We're raised thinking if you don't struggle, then whatever you're doing isn't worth it. And I wonder just how differently it's going to be, especially for those kids you're talking about, because they're literally living a life that proves to them it doesn't have to be a struggle. You can be happy, you can be healthy, you can be surrounded by love, doing the thing you love, living in the place that you love, and never have to put that badge on. Like my 40 years of life would have been so different if I had learned that when I was 5, right?
I mean, so would mine, right? Like I wasted over a decade of like going, oh, not even a decade. I wasted like 3 decades going, hard way, hard way, hard way, hard way, badge of honor, badge of honor, badge of honor. And I was like, hold up, who the fuck is applauding this badge of honor? Like, who is the audience that I'm creating this badge of honor for?
Right.
Like, because if it's me, this fucking sucks. I'm tired of doing it the hard way. I'm tired of dating the narcissist. I'm tired of dating the drug addict. I'm tired of being broke and being broken. I'm tired of being sick and diseased. And then finally one day you wake up and you're like, okay, what do I really want? Like in a no bullshit way, right? Like, sure, right. I want to be a millionaire who flies around on fancy jets every day too. Let's get real. I want to be that bitch. Let's be straight.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, what's the most important thing to me? That my marriage is solid and that my husband and I are on the same page most of the time. It's sometimes fun to not be on the same page. That we live in a home that we love, that inspires us, that I get to do the best creative work that I can possibly come up with, and that the people around me know that they're loved. And if all of that is actually taken care of, the funny thing is money and resources and all that other stuff, it just continues to flow. Like the easier you make things, the happier you are, the more just shows up for you.
Which is a huge concept. And I think a lot of people listening to this are going to need some time to process that, because we are taught money is a scarcity, right? This is this thing that only shows up in certain ways, right? And it's not true, but we just don't know the other side of that coin.
Yeah. And I mean, here's my take on that. I grew up the only daughter of 2 entrepreneurs. My parents both own their own businesses their entire lives. I watched the moments of feast or famine that existed in entrepreneurship. I saw the moments when we had all the money in the world. I saw the moments where we were tight and couldn't afford things that we wanted. And I vowed that I didn't want to live that way anymore. That's not to say that there's moments where I'm like, okay, we need to pay attention to our cash flow now. But we got to a point where my husband and I both did a ton of high level work around our money stories, because I am a firm believer that money changes the world. You want to actually change the world? Money is power. Power changes the world. You need money to have power to change the world. I'm sorry for anybody who doesn't believe that, but it's fucking true.
Yeah.
And the way that I can change the world the fastest is by becoming rich and bringing those who I love along with me. So my husband is a trader. He actually has made his entire business all about helping people who want to get out of debt and build legacy, like generational wealth in their family, to do that. That's what he does for a living.
Wow.
I write words that build the legacies. He actually creates and funds the money section of things for people. And doing that took us overcoming our shitty money stories of like, money's hard. You have to work hard for it. It doesn't grow on trees.
Right.
Or I'm not good with money. That was my bullshit story. As women, we are brought up that if we want something bad enough, what are we supposed to do? Scrimp, save, put away your pennies. Yeah. What are men taught? Go make some fucking money. So why is it that it's okay for a man to just go make money, but I have to save my pennies? Nah, I'm calling bullshit, brother. That ain't happening in my world. So I literally turned the tables and said, no. That doesn't work for me. Like if my dad's response to, I want something for myself and I don't have the cash right now, is I'm just going to go work a few more hours and make that money. Why shouldn't that be my response?
Yes.
And money is plentiful. Like I have always grown up with a belief, and thank you to my father for doing this. I have always grown up with a belief that when I need money, money shows up for me 100%. And my husband would laugh and tease me at first when we first got married about this, because I would literally have $50 to my name. And I'd be like, oh, I want to buy this thing that's $500. My husband would be like, how the hell are you going to do that? And I'd be like, when I need money, money always shows up for me. Just give me a couple of days. It'll manifest. Hold on. And I would literally go, okay, how do I make $500? And I could always do it. And then it started to be like, okay, well, now I need to make $5,000. Well, how do I do that? Okay, what happens if I need to make $10,000? Can I do that? And I would kind of just play with the universe. I turned it into a bit of a game. I turned it into this, okay, universe, I want to do this thing. And it's $20,000. How do I make $20,000? And I could continuously do it. And the trick was, honestly, it's gratitude. It's showing gratitude for all those pennies that come in. I have a running joke, but like, I don't leave pennies and stuff on the floor. We pick them up and we put them in a jar and you keep them. And you say thank you for every penny that you find and every nickel and quarter and dime and whatever. We also keep cash in our wallets as just a reminder that we are wealthy. And that doesn't mean, that could mean that I have $100 bill sitting in my wallet and 5 cents in my actual checking account. I'm still wealthy. It's the mindset of being wealthy. It's not about the actual number. There's so much more to wealth than just actually physically having cash in your bank account. It's being gracious for the things that you can buy. It's not wasting money on shit you don't need or don't want. So many of us get caught up in needing stuff. And both my husband and I started to throw that out the window and say, okay, there's stuff. And then there's stuff that we really want. There's things that push forward the goals and the dreams and the ideals. And I would rather, we've had this discussion. I would rather eat craft dinner every night for a month to afford the thing I really want than have luxury steak dinners and not have the thing I really want. Right. So it's not even about that though. It's like, how do I get both? How can I have steak dinners all this month and still get the thing I want? Why should I sacrifice? Why should I be, in that societal norm of, oh, I'm a woman, I should scrimp and save. I got to eat my craft dinner because I really want that other thing. Why should I? I want the fucking steak and I want the other thing. I want the steak and the diamonds and the private plane and the trip to Maui and any other goddamn thing I choose that I want. And I'm not okay with saying I have to scrimp and save. Instead, I'm going to say, I will find a way. I will figure out how to do it. There's always another way. Money is an infinite resource. It shows people are willing to pay for all kinds of beautiful things. And I'm not talking about ripping people off. I'm talking about giving them value. I'm not a cheap copywriter, but if somebody comes to me, you know what they get? They get something that's going to be an incredible product that your clients are going to relate to. Your clients are going to beg you to purchase from. It's going to be incredible. And then every single dollar I earn, I know that I've changed a life with that dollar. When you change lives with dollars, you stop having money problems. It's that simple. If you change lives with dollars, you stop having money problems. It's impossible to have a money problem when you're changing lives with your dollars. And this, by the way, does not mean to give every dollar you have to charity. That's not the intention. There's so many people that get, oh, if I had $1 million to give it all to charity. Nope. Here's the thing. It's like anything else. Feed yourself first and then take care of the world. Right. I can fill from a full cup. I cannot fill from an empty cup.
And that is such a big statement because so often we use that analogy when we're talking about our spiritual growth or our emotions, but people don't use it when it comes to finances. And that's so important because if we've learned anything in the last 2 years, it's that situations can change on a dime and you never know what's going to happen next. So if you empty your cup and the world blows up, where does that leave you? So take care of you and then move forward to take care of the rest of the world. And I love that you say it's money that sort of drives that change because you're 100% right. I think that's one of the things we have over the last 2 years had to really focus on. It's money that helps people. It's money that changes circumstance. It's money that makes it so that people can function and live in this world with our insanely, increasing prices for everything, including peaches. Everything has gone up in the last year, and it's gone up because of the world circumstances. There's not one specific person that made a decision to charge more for a thing. The whole world literally came to a halt and prices had to go up to compensate for what that meant for everything around the world. And those sorts of things are going to keep happening. We can't stop them from happening. And the best buffer that you have is money so that when it happens, you know you and your family are okay. That's such a huge thing. And I think so many people don't look at money in that way. So I am grateful that you said that because I think
I'm a huge like proponent of money. Like I think that every person out there, man, woman, child, should figure out money, like financial literacy. It should be taught. It should be something that all of us are aware of. All of us know how to use it. All of us understand it. Because if you actually want to drag people out of their situation, not even drag, if you want to elevate them out of their situations, if you want to give them a tool, don't teach them how to fish, teach them what to do with their money. Teach them how to grow their money. Talk about compounding interest. Talk about investing. Talk about, how do we have passive income streams and active income streams? Yes. Talk about all of the things like taxation. I mean, even as I grow my business and get deeper into taxation laws and like what this means, I mean, it's beautiful to understand. And I get to be grateful for the gift of making more money and being taxed more, because those tax dollars are supporting people in our communities who need it.
Yes.
That's like, it sounds crazy, but I look at taxation now as charitable giving.
Yeah.
Right. This is how the community runs. The community runs because I'm taxed at a higher income tax bracket because I made more money, and I get to give back in a wealthier way. That's cool with me. Bring on taxation. I'm okay with it if it means that it's going to support somebody else to level themselves up. But what I really wish we all did was actually just become more financially literate.
Yes.
And knew how to get ourselves out of this, because it's not that hard to make money. It's not. Small investments compounded over time can actually add up tremendously. And what's the value of carrying no debt in your life? What's the value to you of having a savings account? What's the value to you of being able to buy your own home in cash? What's the value to you of being able to leave your children with cash? I mean, it's funny, but prior to getting married, I didn't have a legacy. I didn't have kids. I was like, I die. Who's going to get it all? The government? Yay. What am I saving for? Now I have a purpose. I have two humans who maybe weren't birthed by me, but they're still mine, who I now get to build a legacy for, so that when I'm gone, they can do things even better than I could do it. They can change the world with the money that we're going to put aside for them. They can have a healthy respect and understanding of what to do with money, so that they can have their own power in this world.
Right.
That's the best gift I can give those kids. Beyond loving them, that is 100% the best gift I can give those kids, is how they can learn to manage their own money and do the things that they want to do with their money, and really challenge the world's norms. Because the way we get out of this, guys, is by making people rich. That's how we get out of this. We teach people how to make their own money, and we make the world rich. And that's actually genuinely how we change the world.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love the idea. I love the concept. I love the ability to be able to do it. I think especially because, as you know, here in Canada, most of the last 18 months, depending on where you lived, was lockdowns and loss of jobs and all of these other things. And just think about, if money hadn't been the issue, where we would be. If money hadn't been an issue for people, what would the world look like today versus what it does? Oh, I love that. I love you. I absolutely adore. I'm so glad we got to chat today, because this is amazing. But I do want to, because we've talked about all of these other things, I do want to address sort of the elephant in the room, because there's probably people listening to this podcast who don't actually know what a copywriter does. So do you want to like actually describe, like, I know you're magic with words, and you have something on your website that says you are best known for not being known at all, which I kind of fell in love with. I was like, oh, I kind of love this. This is awesome. And then you talk about sort of being the copywriter for badass individuals, which also spoke volumes to me. But for people who are listening, who are like, well, what exactly does a copywriter do? Do you want to explain to them how you create magic with words?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have, since I was a child. Okay. So this is going to get super weird and technical. You ready?
Okay.
You ready? It's going to get super weird and technical. So the short form answer is that a copywriter basically writes words for other people. I take the words out of your mouth and put them on a page and translate them for your client. It's a lot more complicated than that in terms of this. Since I was a child, I knew that I had a gift for writing. I'm going to date myself here, but like, my parents bought me a Nintendo when Nintendo was cool. And I cried so hard because I did not want a Nintendo. I wanted a typewriter. Aww. To the point where I cried for so long. My dad finally caved and bought me the typewriter. My mom got Nintendo thumb, and I had typewriter tape, like marks all over my fingers.
I love it.
I wrote books, blogs, poetry, anything you could think of. I wrote blogs before blogs existed. I would just write these incredible journals on my typewriter, stacked to them. My mom jokes that I almost bankrupted the family with how much typewriter tape I went through. Like I was weirdly word obsessed. And here's the reason why. When I was a child, I knew that life did not exist on this is going to get super weird. I knew that life did not exist on just one plane, the one that we were living on, right? I knew I could recognize that there was a plane of life, like this was life, this is reality, this is where we live. And there are other planes of existence where we've been before that are coexisting on a different timeline, but I've been part of. Okay. Super weird and spiritual. What happens for me though, when I write is that oftentimes I can tap into knowledge that I don't know how I know, except that I know that there's another timeline that exists. And I know that information and I translate it onto a page. Super wooey, kind of weird. It's called quantum language. And quantum language is essentially when somebody can go up into a different timeline or can express something across a timeline that they shouldn't necessarily know, but they do. So when I work with clients, the process is essentially really simple. I sit down with them to figure out their website, their blog, their email funnel, whatever it is that they need to create. And make no mistake, we all have something that needs creating, and that's cool. I sit down and I figure out what that is. And then I look at it from two different perspectives. One, what is the model of the world that you're currently working in? So we have these levels, planes of existence that we exist on. What is the model of the world that you exist in? So your model of the world, for example, could be that your model of the world is like, oh, I don't care about money. Money's the root of all evil. I believe in family and community, and kindness is the way to change the world. Cool. You're one model of the world. Then there's the other model of the world that says entrepreneurs and money will change the rest of the world. Right. So to your listeners who are in that first model of the world that I described, probably everything I said pre this, you're going to be like, whoa, that girl is whack. Totally fine. We're just in different models of the world.
Right.
Let me explain, however, what I do with money to somebody who's in the original model. In the original model, I would say, look, I believe that money can do incredible things for this community and for the world. And the way that I can best help is by earning money so that I can give back to that community. Now, all of a sudden, the people that were in that original model of the world are like, okay, that feels better to them.
Right.
Rather than I'm a selfish asshole who just wants to make money for the sake of making money. Right. So when we write, we often write in the model of the world. We write the way we see the world. Sure. Right. I can't write everything in a stage 5, like a model of the world where everything's about money and finances. And that's how we change the world. Not everybody's going to connect with that. So I need to know who my audience is, and I write to my audience. So my job is kind of to be like, I don't know, it's like my pen is my own little TARDIS that can take me to a different time period where I can be like, okay, this person believes that. Let me write into that and explain it to them here. And I work to basically craft copy that your clients can connect with, engage with, and then ultimately purchase from you from seeing. And the way that I do that is by connecting deeply to who they are as a person and who you are, and finding the threads in between. And those are the words that I write.
I love it. I love it. I think that description is perfect. And it's interesting because as you're describing it, I'm actually picturing sort of the Marvel universe that we've all gotten to know over the last decade or so, with all of the different levels in the multiverse, right? Like people may not have understood it 20 years ago if we had had this conversation, but I think now people have a frame of reference of what you're talking about. And it's such a magical thing because it's not very often that you run into someone who can do something as magical as you can. So if people want to work with you, they've listened to you and they're just dying to work with you, where can people find you?
Okay. So the easiest way to find me is straight from a website or Instagram. It's Word Magic Copywriting on Instagram, wordmagiccopywriting.com. If you're looking for the website, I do done for you copy, meaning I work with you as the client and I literally write it for you. I also teach classes. So sometimes people can come and take a course or a class. I'm running one upcoming specifically for coaches. I'm running another one specifically for entrepreneurs, where you can come and get specific information that's targeted towards you. So those are action-oriented. Like if you're an action person, if you can listen to a training and implement, if that's you, come take a training with me. If you are terrible at that and you just need a human to translate your shit, call me and I can do that for you too. So it goes both ways. I love working both ways. And a lot of times it's just a conversation to say, let's find out where you're at and what's actually happening in your business. And then I sort of see people's businesses in 3D. It's sort of funny to explain it that way, but I sort of see it in 3D. And then I usually end up sketching and writing out stuff to show you what a sales funnel looks like and how we got there and what it is that you actually sell. Because the interesting thing with people who are, and when we're in our business, right? When we're so stuck in our business and what we do, we don't see the forest for the trees. My job is to show you the forest, right? You're busy looking at the trees, and my job is to show you the forest, what you really do, because you probably don't know what you really do. You're like a podcaster, or you're a coach, or you're a therapist, but that's your title. That's brilliant. What do you actually do? Are you healing trauma and helping people reclaim their freedom? Are you solving a female issue and ultimately raising the level of consciousness for women? What is it that you actually do? And then we take it from that level, and then we build you out a whole program so that people can actually see your brilliance. Because the challenge, again, is if you're not very good with words, chances are people aren't seeing your brilliance.
Right.
Because they don't get a chance. The first way we experience people is often through their writing. And if you don't like their writing, you probably aren't likely to stick around. It's a sad thing. It used to be the opposite. Pre-COVID, we would meet people, we would network with them. The first thing they would hear is us shaking their hands and saying their name. Right. That doesn't happen much anymore. Now they find us online and they send us an email. And you need to be versed in how to communicate with your client, how to proactively speak about your brand and what it is that you do, and have a bigger mission. I mean, my mission is to change the world using money and words. Like that's what we're up to. That is everything that this house and this farm was built on, was to change the world with money and words. That's how we're here. And, my husband's version is that he trades and helps build financial wealth and legacy. My version is I write words that make you money. That's it.
Love it.
Money and words. Welcome to my life.
I love it. And for everyone who is listening to this podcast, I will put in the show notes all of the links to Crystal so that you can find her on social media as well as her website to be able to work with her. Now, Crystal, I do want to be respectful of your time, and we're coming up on 3:00. So typically I end the podcast by asking my guests 4 questions. Are you game to answer?
Oh, yeah, always. Please. I love questions. What you got? What you got?
Awesome. So the first question is, if you could go back in time and give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
I feel like you already know this. A piece of advice. I feel like I give myself many pieces of advice. Like, don't eat so much chocolate. Might have been one of them. Actually, that's a lie.
I was going to say, I don't know that that's true.
That's a lie. Eat all the chocolate, kid. You'll be fine. Financial literacy. Like, you figure it out early. Like, dear God, so true story. We're financially literate, and we are just about to pay off in one fell swoop almost $100,000 in debt, next week, which is super cool. And had I known how to do that when I was in my 20s, 30s, to get to my age now, which is almost 40, and to not have any debt, that would be amazing. I wish I had done that sooner. I also wish I had followed my intuition and gone into writing, even though so many naysayers and so much about what society told me was that writing, I couldn't make money writing. I couldn't make money writing. I wish I'd ignored that and chosen the easy path, chosen the path that made me excited and happy versus what everybody else told me to do. Because what everybody else told me to do made me money. It didn't make me happy. And I would trade, I want both. It's not even a trade. I just want both. I want to be happy and I want to make money. I don't want happiness at the sake of money.
Right.
I'm not really willing to trade here. Let's be real. I want both. And in my former career, I traded money for happiness. And in my current iteration, I don't trade anything. I have both. It's not an and or situation. It's a both and.
And you're deserving of both. I think that's something that's really important for people to hear as they hear you speak, because how you approach the world is with the attitude of, I am deserving of both. I do not have to sacrifice. I do not have to make the choice between one or the other. And that mindset is a huge influence on how you show up in the universe, right?
100%. Don't sacrifice, especially don't sacrifice yourself, right? That's another thing that we as women do so frequently. We sacrifice ourselves for everybody else and everything else around us. And I'm past that. I'm not sacrificing myself for anybody or anything anymore. No, I can have both. I can be married and satisfy myself and him. I can be in my business and writing words that I love and that my clients are happy with. It's not an and or, it's a both and. I can do all of it. Why do I have to give up anything? I have incredible stepchildren and dogs and chickens and, silliness. And sometimes I'm pulled in 12 different directions. And I love the fact that I'm basically a yo-yo. It's cool. I'm Gumby personified and I'm okay with it. It's pretty cool.
I love that. I love that. Okay. The next question is, what's one thing about yourself that you'd like to work on?
My obsession with sugar could pretty much kick the bucket any day now. Okay. As much as I joke about don't give up the chocolate, I have a pretty significant sweet tooth. Living on a farm with peaches, by the way, did not help this. Peaches are delightful straight off the tree. Let's get real. And peach cobbler is delightful and peach salad's delightful. And for all of those of you going, but it's fruit. Yeah, it's fruit in moderation. When you eat it as much as we do living on a peach farm, it's not moderation, it's straight candy. So I have a strong sweet tooth that happens, and I could use the universe slowing down my sweet tooth. That would be great.
I love that answer. One, because here in the Niagara region, peaches are an obsession. And so I totally get where you're coming from. My dad who lives in Barrie will call me is it peach season yet? Can you go get this is a thing. And yes.
Yeah. And I still have peaches on my tree. We're probably going to go pick more tonight. There's probably going to be an apple or a peach crumble tonight. I feel like I'm going to be diabetic living in the Niagara region. So slowing that down would be great.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will figure it out. The next question is, what's the best or the worst piece of advice you've ever been given and why?
Oh, money is hard. That was the biggest bullshit lie I was ever fed. That making money is hard, that you have to work hard for it, that it's not possible to have everything you dream of, so you have to settle. I wish some of that stuff had never been infused into me and I never believed it. But in the same breath, I'm grateful that I did, because it took me going through all of those hard lessons to learn what I really wanted. So, but yeah, life is hard. Money is hard. No, stop that. I wish those things didn't exist. I think that would be the end. And if your listeners are looking for a recommendation, I highly recommend, there's a book called The Energy of Money by Maria. Can't remember her last name now. Anyway, it is by far the best book. The trick is, though, if you read it, you have to actually do the work that it tells you to do. This is not a pick it up, read it, and just be like, yeah, I understand that in my brain. No, you have to actually do the work. And I promise you, if you do it in 30 days or 60 days, your entire money story will shift and you will start making money. It's a crazy catalyst. It's the best. I've read a lot of money books, and it by far was the one that changed everything for me. The first month I made it, I went from making $5,000 to $20,000. Wow. And then the next month I continued to do the work. I went from 20 to 50. Do the fucking work. Do the work. And keep that book. We keep it in our we keep it in our house. It sits in our living room right by the TV as a reminder that TV doesn't necessarily pay our bills, but you do need to relax. And the energy of money is placed in our house like some people keep the Bible. It is our Bible for power and wealth and understanding that this is how we change the world.
I love that. I'm totally, as soon as we're done here, going to go get that book. I love me a good book. So whenever someone recommends something, especially something that will have a huge impact on my life, I'm all over that.
Do it.
One of the things I do with Chasing Happiness is a book club. So I'm constantly looking for books. So thank you.
So good.
Love that.
So good.
Okay. The last question is, what does happiness mean to you?
The ability to do and create whatever it is that I want to in the moment, from moment to moment. It's freedom. Happiness is just freedom. It's knowing that I can be on this call and in, 5 minutes after, I can go snuggle up to my husband and give him a kiss and be super happy with him. And then I can go outside and play with my chickens if I want. I can go to the beach if I want. Money doesn't buy you happiness, but it buys you freedom. And that exactly is the same thing.
I love that. Oh, that's such a perfect answer. And I love asking that question to everyone who comes on the podcast, because I think ultimately we all have different ideas at any given moment of any given day of what happiness really is. But I also think we can resonate with other people's ideas, right? So you're talking about, happiness being this, if you want to go to the beach. And now I'm thinking, okay, what do I want to do with my afternoon? If I could go to the beach, that would be right. So you instantly connect with people through this idea, even if it is a little different than the one you had in the moment. And I love that. So I love the idea of freedom. I love everything that you've talked about today. I could talk to you for like probably another 5 hours, but I promise I will not keep you all day. I do appreciate your time and your energy, and you just being willing to, after Delane introduced us, hop on here with me because you knew nothing about me or the podcast.
We had a name bond, girl. We had a name bond. That was the start of it. It was like, oh, she's named Crystal. She's got to be good things. Also spelt the same way, which is super rare.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely love it. I love you. I adore you. Thank you so much for coming today. For everyone who is listening, again, I will put in the show notes all of the contact information, all of the social media, websites, all that fun stuff for Crystal so that you can get in touch. And thank you so much, Crystal. I appreciate you. You have no idea how much I appreciate you coming on today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I will chat with you next week. Bye for now.